Hi, welcome to the Women Money Business Podcast. I am Dr. Priti Basra, and today I've got with me Marianna Penna. So thank you so much for joining me today, Marianna. I know that you love everything about branding, authenticity, and marketing. So, and I know that you set up your business just following lockdown or during lockdown. Would you mind telling our audience a little bit about this, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you, Pretty. It's a pleasure, honor being here today with you and have the opportunity to share with your audience more about what we do at WOW.
Thank you.
So, a pleasure. Well, WOW was born during pandemic. When I say pandemic, has been a long time, but I would say the second part of pandemic in 2021. Program of the tax law firm I was managing at the time. I wanted really to support women in business during pandemic because they were the ones that really, like myself, suffering, and I want to show my solidarity as managing partner of a tax law firm. I really understood what was the pressure in terms of business to get the maximum exposure, to have possibility to not be stagnant but actually thrive during pandemic. So what I did, I put together 24 women, 12 in Italy and 12 in the UK, with the aim of collaborate and why not having business opportunity together. But most importantly, sharing stories, women that they were in their wow moment, which was meaning not only the wow aspect is, the one from outside, but the moment that even they were down once, they managed to break through. And that was inspiring our audience to do so. So basically getting together to have collaborations, business opportunities, and inspire more women not to give up in those tough times.
And in terms of, so WOW stands for Women of Worth. That's, am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
So in your background then, Marianne, your background, did you say is you were in a law firm?
Yeah, basically, I have very interesting background because I am not a qualified a lawyer in the
Okay.
UK. I was working at the tax law firm. I am a trainee accountant in Italy, but I
Okay.
decided not to practice. Fun enough, at the time, because I'm running the tax law firm together with my husband and my another partner, basically they wanted, give opportunities to women to lead, and that was really. I'm telling you, it's not easy working with your husband, especially if he's a lawyer.
I know.
Exactly, especially if he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
So basically, it was nothing for granted. For me, it was actually even tough. I have to prove everybody that I was able
Worth.
to, yeah, exactly, to lead the firm. And actually at the time, I had a mentor. I said, "What do you think? I'm not a qualified lawyer or an accountant in the UK. Can I have a problem?" Man, now go for it, because I think that what makes you stand out is the fact that you have an economics background, because I have a graduation in Italy as in economics, and I've done a lot of marketing activities as well as a diploma in the UK and Italy. He said most of the times there are many law firms where who is leading has got not business acumen, in the sense that they don't have the leadership as someone in marketing. So it was really reassuring me, encouraging me to go down that path. So I'm not a lawyer in UK. I'm a trainee accountant in Italy. I've been spending all my life in marketing for actually 25 years, I would say.
So for example, with you having such a strong marketing background, was the only reason you're training to be an accountant was because of your husband's firm, was it? Or was it something that you wanted to do yourself?
Well, basically, I studied in Italy at the time. I had the graduation in Italy, and then I moved in the UK for a firm, an accountancy firm that they were dealing with Italian clients. So basically, I was appointed. I had basically the role of Italian desk, looking after the Italians. So from the setting up of the companies, bank account introduction, and then I started doing all the marketing research for their introduction in a foreign market. So there was where I'm starting exploring more about marketing. And then I said, you know what? When I went back to Italy, I decided to revisit my career path.
And in terms of, so you mentioned as you were talking that one of the reasons that you wanted to do Women of Worth, the WOW, was because of the pandemic and how it was affecting women. Why did you feel it was affecting women differently to men?
Well, basically because we were stuck in our flats,
Okay.
and that means that we had to look after. I don't have children, but definitely we already are most of the times always trying to juggle with many
Yeah.
roles. Yeah, and
Yeah.
during pandemic, you have under the roof,
Yeah.
the pressure for the lunch, the dinner,
Yeah.
and I am only with my husband. I can imagine women that had to look after their business on top of that their families with the little children. So basically, the reason why I thought that they needed help is because they could focus more on their basically activities, and helping them instead with the marketing, giving the platform for visibility and connection, and making sure that there was a way how to create a platform which was collaborative but also collective in order to get together in a bigger, a stronger way.
And in terms of, so you said that there's 12 women from each area that came together. What were the key sort of take-home messages from that interaction together? Was it the community that had formed? Was it the strategies that came out of it? Was it the networking? What was the biggest thing that you would say came out of doing that?
Well, basically, first of all, I wanted really to open up avenues for making business opportunities. With this, I mean, so simply helping women from both sides to make sales. That was really the starting point. Then it came up with the marketing approach and visibility. But what it came out really was the fact that it was two different way of doing business. So Italians creative in the sense that they were trying their best to come out from their difficulty, and the UK ones instead they had to have someone that could look after their social media handles. And the funny thing, even if Facebook, Instagram was really big, I find out that women that were struggling with their visibility on social media, so they were great at what they're doing. They even had some presence, especially the UK ones that had presence, but they were not active enough, or they were not active, especially for the time that was needed to be more online. They were not with their plan, with content plan. They were, having the visibility on social media, but there was not structured. Italians instead, no clue about, so only a little bit about Facebook, nothing on Instagram, and a very poor presence on LinkedIn. And the thing is, they're starting to realizing that that was only the ultimate result of what was at the source: lack of strategy, lack of ideas, no creativity, or no content planning that could help them to structure and streamline the communication and trying to build their following. That is really the takeaway. They had something in place, someone none at all, but there was a lot to do for them to shine.
I think, and I suppose back then, like it sounds like it was just yesterday, but it's like 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, lockdown. And back then, I think that's where social media was just becoming more and more popular. And I think as businesses, you're not really equipped for that as a traditional business. Obviously, the younger generation now, they're used to like TikTok, Instagram, social media. They're born up in that generation. But then those of us that are a little bit older and have a slightly different sort of business model, it's quite difficult to then switch, because you almost think, well, that's just what kids do or something. That's just what, showing up online could be this, that, the other. But I think that it was quite pivotal around about that time, because everything shifted, like you say, online. And if you weren't there, you were losing out and you're missing out, basically. And for me as a business owner, I would say, like, I've had my practice for 10 years now. And I'd probably say only in the past maybe 4 or 5 years that I've looked at content plans, social media calendars, things like that, around about lockdown, actually, with what you've said. And I think it's just made everybody sort of restructure, reprioritize. How are they showing up? Because now people they don't walk down the street to find your business, they go online. And if you've only got a website and nothing else, you struggle to attract those people to you. And in terms of then what you do for people at the moment, Marianna, because I know you're very passionate about personal branding. So what do you do for people at the moment?
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Okay.
Well, you said now everybody is on social media. At the time, it was really an opportunity. Now it's so crowded, it's so hard, especially to grow organically. And it's very time consuming. Time consuming because well, you need to have a strategy. And most of people, we think that, coming out with a post, we have a chance. It's like, shooting everywhere. So we say, in marketing, we spray and pray, hoping that after our spray, someone is
Someone
coming
will,
to us.
yeah.
And secondly, the creativity. So you need, first of all, the strategy to understand what you stand for and how and who you want to reach and what is the right messaging. Then there is the second phase of it, the creativity. That can be also consuming because you have a clear idea of how you want to target, who you want to target, what are the channels, but you need to come up with a creative way how to attract the attention. So also that is the second phase, which is time consuming. And then the content plan, you need really to unravel the message. Sometimes it's the same thing that you need to say in different ways, but you try not to be repetitive. Otherwise the people, they are fed up with your messaging. So that is really time consuming. And I have realized that it's nothing new really, but what is making the difference is the personal branding. The personal brand, which is not nice the way how we come up, okay, with the polished image, is not about that. Actually, the more you come as you are, authentically who you are, the personal brand talks for you, and then people starting following you for who you are and what you're proposing after. They are not coming to you for the service, because now, especially with the algorithm, you can see that people that are pushing the products or their services, the way they are going to lose out is because they are pushing too much about the product, not instead sharing their story, the reason why they are there to help, what was the problems they had and they solved, how they've overcome that, which is what people are interested in. When they come to you, they want to understand really if you can understand them, and then how you can help them. Not because of your solution is great, because it's fantastic as it is, fair enough. Show me.
Yeah.
It's important to tell them that if it's your product or your service, the key, the solution to help them, fair enough, but you need to proving unraveling your story, proving through testimonials. And this is the way how you really engage with your target audience. And personal branding, I see, is to me a way, especially for women in business, to try to put down the myth of being perfect. Because I was saying before, yes, we had the channel. Sometimes we are not out there to promote ourselves because we think we don't have the right lipstick, or we don't have the lipstick. I came with my hair as they are, no blow dry and stuff. But sometimes these things stop us as women to show up.
Yeah.
Which is nice to be nice. I'm not saying that we don't have to look good in the best version of ourselves, but when instead it becomes an obstacle to show up with a message that is more important, that is what we are losing out. Of course, there are also other fears of being judged, fear of people like haters, and I totally get it. But if you own what you do with the best interest of your target audience, that is secondary. I mean, of course, we are very sensitive as individuals. Women, we take on very personally if someone is attacking us. So it's not nice for whoever is doing this towards us. But even they do towards us, let's take the positive part of the negative critic. Okay, how can I improve? Even in my lookout, fair enough. If I can improve, that's okay. But is this really matter for what is my job, what I'm doing to serve my target audience? If not, forget about it. The point is that we are able to have this awareness, this level of confidence only when we really know who we really are, and actually how we can best serve our, because it doesn't matter whatever anybody else trying to attack you and you own who you are and what you do for others, that is going to be absolutely invincible what you got inside of you. So this is what I want to inspire women to do.
I suppose there's so many things that you've just touched on there. One of the things that I probably would want to comment on is, I think when you are in business and you're trying to show up online, I think there is definitely the imposter syndrome where you think, why would somebody want to listen to me? I think the comments that you've made about the personal brand are huge, especially since COVID. I think there's been a major shift in the way people spend and the way people buy. And they're so used to, and they're sick of buying from Amazon or wherever, where they don't get that human interaction, that people will pay more to see a person because they're having that exchange and they're getting that personality across. And like you say, if you're not showing up as you, whether that's you with messy hair, with not the right lipstick or different top on, they don't care because they want you. You are your own biggest critic most of the time. You just think, well, I've done this, I've looked like this, I sound like this. But I think I would probably add to that and say the first thing that you can do is just start. The first time you show up online probably isn't going to be the best that it's ever been. But the more you do it, the more sort of confident you get in it, really. And I think on the back of that, because I love everything to do with marketing, like it's my sort of pet hobby in terms of marketing. So like I'm very, really passionate about that. And I sort of do the majority of the marketing myself for my own business. And I understand everything that you're saying just relates to what I do. And I think, yeah, I understand that. But I think one of the biggest things for me, I worked with a marketing agency a couple of years ago now, and we went through the process of understanding my brand, in terms of, I've got an optician's practice and trying to understand that brand. And that piece of work was quite transformational for me because it was trying to understand my why. And with you saying, like, you need to own what you do. And once you know what you do and you can offer it, I think the hardest question that you can ask yourself is why. And even though you have the answer, you can't answer it. You need usually somebody else to sort of pull it out of you. I'm like, oh, that's why I do it, And I think for me, like for marketing, that's been the biggest sort of take homes for me is what's my why? Because once you've nailed that, everything feeds your marketing, your content, your social, everything just feeds into the why. But I think it's a very deep question to ask. And I think you do need an expert to be able to get that information out of you because it's not just knowing your why, but it's how that feeds into, like you say, the marketing strategy. How do you get that message across without saying the same thing over and over again? Because no one wants to hear your why over and over again. Like you say, they want different variations of it. So that completely sort of hits home and resonates with me. And I think in terms of so like you mentioned, like content calendars and strategies and things like that. And I used to think like, oh God, like years ago, those are things what big companies do. I'm not a big company. I'm just me. And I've got this small business and that's what the big people do. I don't need to do that, or there's no point in me doing that. And now I think it's the age of the small business owner, and there's no one more personal branded aware or that should be personal branding aware than I think small businesses, because it is often you own the business, whereas big corporations, it can be multiple people. And I think there's quite a nice sort of twist on that since lockdown, where the personal brand has become so personal, and especially if you are a small business owner. And I think that, like you mentioned, as females, we do shy away from things, and we do sort of think, well, I don't want to put myself forward. What if so and so says that? What if they make fun of me? Or maybe they might think, well, who do you think you are coming up on social media? But then you mentioned visibility, and I think visibility is just life-changing, in certain situations and circumstances. So with your with the people that you work with at the moment then, Marianna, do you favor one platform over another? Like if you were a business, or if you were a personal, like sort of a small business, or if you were just one person, like a solopreneur, what kind of strategies do you normally sort of go through and suggest?
Yeah, thank you for the question. First of all,
Okay.
before I jump into this, I totally appreciate what you said about talking about big corporation and small business owners, because it's it's huge difference, because definitely is for the big corporation we're talking about the brand itself, what it stands for as a collective, as an identity of your business as business. Instead, a personal brand is you as an individual, as a person. But nowadays, also relevant for the CEOs, which are the leaders of the companies. If you are going to see how it's performing the business pages, even the measure companies with instead the personal page of the CEOs, you can see the big difference. So people
Okay.
still following the people, even if it's a big corporation, the engagement is very hard, or is just on social media. That is just a channel to have brand awareness. That's all. Instead, in terms of engagement, people, unfortunately or fortunately, we like to know the things behind the scenes. We want to
What's
know
going on? Yeah.
exactly what's going on. Let me see what put on today. It could be a man or a woman, whatever, but
Yeah.
we are interested on the daily life of people. And that is also the reason why a lot of real, this the programs like the Big Brother, that they show real time, what's happening in their life. So we are nosy and naughty in a way that we
Yeah.
want to know these things. So that is relevant also for when we're talking about personal branding. Also, even if we are talking about corporations, definitely what is working more is doing the personal branding for the CEOs or whoever is going to be the leader of the company. And this is applying more than anything else, as you said, for the small businesses. But that is the struggle, because if we are on the field trying to perform for our clients, in the meantime, we need to show up and promote our business. That is where is really exactly the balance, but at the same time also the resources, because the resources are, of course, money and time. That is really the key, and actually human resources. So the three resources is for any business owner is the finance, human resources, and your time. So if you have time and you don't have resources and you don't have financial, you do yourself. When you have a little bit of resources and there is someone that is doing that for you, maybe you want to have also your personal touch, because if you are doing someone else allowing doing your social media, is not really, it can be nice polished, but I always recommend to have your own style that comes through. Even if someone is going to look after the posting, it's fine. The only thing, you need to create the content that is very authentic, especially if you are solopreneurs. In terms of what it works, to be honest with you, at the beginning, even if it's very hard, I will say I always suggest to try a little bit the more, because there are people that, for example, I'm a fan of Instagram. I love it because the platform is polished, but at the same time, you can very be authentic. You have the stories, you have the highlights, you have all the facility, the lives, the reels, and really there's a lot you can do and you can express your creativity. But it could be a lot for someone that doesn't want to be out there that much, or there's not the time to create the content. So I would suggest in that case going more on the LinkedIn or a YouTube, when instead you want to create your more educational focused content. So it really depends on your strategy. What is your personality? Sometimes I say, trying, if you have never tried none of them, trying to understand a little bit more about the platform itself, what is the one that is, for example, me, LinkedIn for me is important, but I found a little bit too stiff sometimes. The way people present, we are all professionals, fair enough, but let's get it real. We are also, someone else behind the scene, and that is more rigid. So people are scared to show up in that case, in that way. So Instagram is more my style,
Well,
so I enjoy more. But I understand that everybody's different. So definitely it's important to understand what is your objective, first of all, who you want to reach, and what is the best channels, which means what is the best dress you want to wear. That is your platform that you are comfortable with.
and it's funny that you should say this, because somebody messaged me yesterday on LinkedIn. So I had a LinkedIn strategy that sort of I looked at last year, and I've not touched LinkedIn I've just not touched it at all over the years. And last year I decided I'm going to go all in on LinkedIn as a personal brand. And I've been doing it for like over 6 months now, and I post religiously every day. And I've had a few messages over the past couple of months, but somebody messaged me yesterday saying that they've been following me for a while and they love the fact that I just show up as myself and I show up authentically. I'm not afraid to look silly. I'm not afraid to have those conversations that people might shy away from. And it's funny because you say that like you find LinkedIn's quite rigid, and obviously there is appetite there for people
Exactly.
who want to know. That's fine. That's your corporate. That's almost like that's your business. That's your corporate stuff. What about the real stuff? You know, like you say, we're tuned into like if there's a bit of gossip or a bit of something, you're like, oh, what's going on there, kind of thing, or what's happening, or what went wrong. Because I think with social media, I always sort of post about this on LinkedIn. A lot of the time, it's people's highlight reel. You know, it's their highlights that they show, and that can be really detrimental to people's mental health because with whether you're doing it knowingly or unknowingly, you start to compare yourself to those posts that you're seeing, and you just think, you know what? But why aren't I having that success? And I'm doing all of this, and how come these guys are sort of getting all of that? And that was one of the reasons that I sort of wanted to go on LinkedIn and just show the other side of the business owner, where it's not always successful. You fail, you lose money, things go wrong, you know, you lose staff, you've got theft, all of those things. I don't feel like you've said, I don't feel they're discussed very often on LinkedIn. And sometimes they might put stuff on that's a bit of clickbait. Some people might do that. But then when you're following the journey of that business owner, I think it's quite nice to have that personal connection, to know that way. And I've noticed over the past few months that big brands like Aldi and Lidl have gone down that humanized approach in their marketing. And I think there was one on February, Valentine's Day. I think Aldi's, was, well, maybe even Specsavers, you know, said like, who wants to be my Valentine was one of their posts on social media. And it went viral. And I was really intrigued as to, and then Aldi did one about Easter, I think, and then other brands were commenting on it. And I was thinking, what's the tactic here? Like, you know, and then it was just the fact that that brand was now showing up as a person with a voice. It wasn't just like, come and get your Easter eggs from Marks and Spencer's. It was, you know, they were having a conversation with their audience, and they all went viral with it. And again, it's that human connection. And I think brands are changing where they're understanding that, you know, to succeed in the way the world is at the moment, they need to humanize themselves, which I think is quite difficult when you're not a person, you know, when you are like, or well, like a Waitrose or an Aldi or whatever you are. But then there's obviously a massive shift. It's not just on that small business sector, like you mentioned, it is on that bigger corporate scale as well. And with the CEO aspect, I think I can 100% resonate with that, because there's people that I follow on LinkedIn, and I want to know, you know, they're CEOs. I'm like, what do you do? What do you do? You know, what's your day to day like? And it's that intrigue, but also it's sharing knowledge. I think often people just, depending on again, it goes back to what platform is for you. So for me, I want to learn. So I will automatically go to a place like LinkedIn. Also on Instagram, I might look at like accounts that will teach me things, or YouTube where I can talk things. I wouldn't go on Facebook for that. You know, I probably might go on TikTok for it, but that's not where I would obviously go to. And I think with you saying have a play around with it, that's, I think, one of the best pieces of advice that anyone can give, really. I think to know whether it's going to work for you or your audience, you need to try it yourself and sort of see like, well, yeah, what's going on here. So do you know everything that you've mentioned, Marianna, like in terms of knowing which platform to go to, knowing what message to give, is that something that you guide people through? Like, are you able to offer that service?
Yes, absolutely. Basically, anyway, I enjoy hearing what you say about humanizing, brands, big brands. And actually, last year, because every year with Wow, we launch a theme for our Wow Festival, which is the month we are focusing for the month of March on a theme which is relevant from a marketing point of view. And last year was I am a human. I am a human. Yes, that's why it would make me laugh, because I said, yeah, so I was anticipating then the trend. No, it's just because we were talking already, a lot about artificial intelligence. And to me, I am human was a claim for the woman say, you know what? I surrender. I am a human. I need to rest. I need to surrender because I am not a machine. I am
Yeah.
an individual. I have, sometimes we are the ones that they are asking ourselves too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we are the ones. It's not. Yeah, of course, there are also people that they ask for our support, and we like to help and look after. But the point is that we are overdoing. So to me, it was a time to say, you know what? I am human. This is it. This is no more that I can do. I'm not perfect, but I'm happy to put myself out there, but in my pace. So that was really last year. This year is the theme is authentic. Actually, ran already until the end of March, the first stage of the festival. This year is going to be actually, we are in the middle of the second stretch, which is a spring edition of our festival. And the theme is authenticity in action. So now answering your question, if we're helping women doing that, absolutely yes. And as I was saying, every year we focus on a marketing topic that is really frustrating women in business, because you can imagine business owners and marketers, of course, we are shaping the business world. And as such, there is an impact on social communities. And that means the social customer behaviors, the trends, everything starts from marketing, because this is so business is really affecting our day-to-day lives. And that is fantastic if it's in a healthy way. The problem is most of the time is not healthy.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to say, okay, this year, what is the topic that, in my opinion, we should spread the word about? And to me, authenticity came across actually has been during pandemic the word that I've hated. I know it's not nice to say this word, but there was actually say everybody said you need to come up authentic, you need to be authentic, let's be authentic. I am authentic. I said,
Yeah.
really? There are so many, especially in Italy. I'm Italian, and of course with Wow I focus on both countries, and especially in Italy there are so much fake influencers that they show you this
Yeah.
lifestyle, happy families, this and that. There is a lot of disaster behind the scene. But the problem is that I'm following them from a marketing phenomenon. But there are a lot of youngsters that are affected
Yep.
because of frustrated, as you said, could be from mental health, thinking, oh, their life is so nice.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. Something is wrong with me. And we start questioning ourselves. But when you start seeing, because there have been a lot of scandals in Italy behind this influence, not paying tax, or there were problems in the couples, there was fraud involved, a lot of rubbish. And the point is that, you know what, Marianna, this is, if you are doing what you want to do in the way that is really serving the audience, we need to help to regain the authentic meaning of being authentic. So that's why I wanted to have this theme, I am authentic. But it's a journey. It's not a pill that you take overnight. I am authentic this morning. It's a journey. It's really helping understand who we are, but not like everybody now saying you need to know who you are, you really are. Yeah, it's not easy to know who you really
No, it's
are.
not. Yeah, it's like me saying about your why. Like, what's your why? I don't know what my why is.
Exactly. And today the why could be something, and tomorrow could be
It could be
something
different.
else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Completely different. When you change the career path, you realize that there's something
yeah,
more that you want to explore and to work with. So this is exactly the same. Understanding who you are means that at present moment, I'm living a life, make me happy or not happy. It doesn't mean that I need to show my privacy, because everybody says I am authentic, I'm sure. No, I don't need to show my privacy. Actually, this is, in my opinion, another myth to knock down, because actually privacy is very important. I don't want to share with everybody my, personal life if it's intimate. If I want, fair enough, but
mm,
I don't want. But I want to come across authentically in
yeah,
my business. And if I'm using the platform from personal purposes, yeah, you can show your privacy if you want to. But in business, I think it's important to do the right balance. If you are the ones that wants to protect the privacy, it doesn't mean that you are not authentic. The fact that you
yeah.
show all your life, it doesn't mean that you're authentic, because maybe you are showing 100% of your life, but you are showing only one side, the nice part. So definitely I'm helping women in business with my framework, which is a authentic marketing framework, where authentic is an acronym starting from A, which is awareness, until the end, which is connection. So basically from inside you can get the connection, because at the end of the day, the marketing and personal brand is all about connection from inside out. So definitely from vision up to the connection with community and network and following is the way how we help women in business to come across more authentically, understand their authenticity.
That's it's so much of what you said just made me smile. But the last bit, about sort of the privacy aspect, because I remember speaking to my friend about this a few years ago, and she was like, but you do all these things and nobody knows about it. And why don't you put it on Instagram, or why don't you share this on your socials? And I'm like, because I don't want to. Like, I don't do it to show people. I do it because that's what I enjoy doing in my life. And then she was like saying, well, no, I think you could be a really good like blogger on like travel blog, food blogs and stuff like that. And I just thought, well, I don't want people knowing where I go on a weekend or where I like to go, with my kids and things, because that's private. And at the same time, does that mean I'm not authentic? But like you say, that doesn't, just because I don't share it doesn't make me not authentic. And I think, and I'm a LinkedIn fan. I've got to say, I do like LinkedIn. I'm sorry, but what I find interesting about LinkedIn is if you ever see a post which is like maybe like an Instagram or Facebook style post where it's a couple or a family picture or a couple picture, you're like, oh, what's going on here? Like, this
Exactly,
is not right.
exactly,
This is LinkedIn.
exactly,
No, 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 no. And it's funny how like when you're on that platform, you're in that frame of mind. If you go to the other platform, you're like, okay, it's fine. They're showing us the wedding ring and the proposal. That's great.
yeah, which is Facebook. Facebook is the gossip, side of everything.
It's funny like how you sort of associate different platforms or different things. Like you say, it's. I think authenticity as a theme is brilliant because there are so many like inauthentic people showing up online, and I think I've seen like a massive trend in people unfortunately falling for what they see. And so people have given, like I've spoken to people on this podcast before, and very successful women, and they've paid thousands to people that are like coaches or whatever, or mentors, and they've not delivered in what they've shown online. So again, it's like you can paint whatever picture you want, but then are they authentic? That it comes back to that. Like, are they showing up authentically? And you don't have to bear all to show up authentically.
Yeah.
And in terms of your Wow Women Festival, Marianna, is that next? There's one next month, and there's one in the UK, one in Italy. Is that right?
Well, basically, the way we designed it is like a relay. So I really wanted to be in a festival. I wanted to showcase from Naples, where I'm from in Italy, London, where I'm based with my business. And then now, actually, I am in Milan myself right
Oh,
now. We have also an office here in Milan. And when we started with Rome as well, where I got a capital. So the way I envisaged is a team play. So we're starting, from Naples, announcing the event with the theme, press conference, and then starting with inspirational talks and workshops in each city. And then at the end of the month, closing with a closing party in Naples. So this is the way we do it. So, and the relay to me is a metaphor, but is very powerful because I've got, I say, captains locally. That means that each woman, we are four of us for now, where each one of us has got a mission. So it's like a relay. The first one is sprinting, then it gives the torch to the second one. The relay to the second one, and then so on and so on. So that means that the more you are working on, I'm bringing with me what I've done, I am empowering the next person. The next person is doing her own stuff. She's empowered by the previous one. Now she needs to make, her effort to get her mission accomplished, and then go to the second one, and so on and so on. So that is at the end of it. we are going to be empowered in the sense that there is a ultimate goal, which is common goal between us. That means, empowering, inspiring, and training with our seminars, podcasts, online seminars through, our women. And, with the closing party, instead, we are going to do, like a party. So it's showcasing and having good time and networking. This year, starting in March, as I said, so I did 2 events in person in London with some podcasting, with the idea of talking about authenticity as awareness around this topic, which is the real social challenge. So I am authentic is the real social challenge.
Yeah.
And now for the spring edition, so there is a sprint into action. We want to show from this brand awareness about authenticity, what is the mean authenticity to take into action, because otherwise it's just nice words. We need to help instead with action. So yes, answering your question, we are going to do 2 events in person. It's part of the same event, but we broke down in 2 Saturdays to accommodate, women that they can't do maybe in one weekend. They split in 2 weekends. So we are going to be 13 of us, most of them award winners, speakers and coaches in different areas, because we want to help women to have this transformation from different angles, because authenticity is not only being mindful of ourselves, but also to practice. So we are going to do, just an example, improvisation, storytelling, talking about authority through writing books, marketing, personal branding, AI, even there are experts for sustainability, tax, health, fitness, and everything is a journey, because I see authenticity as a journey itself, split into 3 stages: introspection, reflection, and connection. So what I mean by that is introspection is the moment where you stop and think and you connect with yourself to understand who you are. And there is all the activities through mindfulness. And then there is a reflection, is how you reflect, how you express externally what you have internally. So that means your brand image, your image as a personal brand, photography, makeup. So everything that for women is relevant to express what we have inside, which is aligned. And then the third element, then when is aligned who you are and the way you express, that is a connection. The only way you are able to connect is authenticity to me, because it becomes a filter. Actually, and this is the journey, when you own who you are and you are not afraid to express it, authenticity is there, and that means it's a filter. You are going to have authentic relationships, long-standing relationships, and you are freer to say what you want without, of course, not always being respectful of others, but own it what you say, and nobody can stop you. So that's why I believe that this kind of events are transformative, because they are helping you to see from different angles in 2 weekends, giving a lot in terms of understanding where to start. Is definitely authenticity in action. That means that you are starting expressing it. So once we have done all the work for the awareness around it, now is in action. So we are helping you to come across authentic.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I mean, there's so much that we've covered today, Marianna, and I think for me the things that stand out are, first of all, sort of women in business and having that sort of marketing strategy that is so important, whether you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, small business, even corporate CEO, to be able to have that personal brand to show up. The next biggest thing, I think, is what you've hit the nail on the head in terms of authenticity. I know it's been a buzzword over the years, but then what does it truly mean? What does it truly mean to be authentic? And I think you've sort of explained so much and so much detail already as to what that actually translates to into real life and how it can affect sort of not even the younger generation, just the generation, just all of us in general, because I don't think any of us are immune to feeling like an imposter or feeling not good enough when we see certain things on social media. And I think finally, with your Wow Women Festival, it just sounds amazing that you've got all those different sort of people, speakers, companies involved. Because you mentioned at the beginning, the human, that we are human, as a female, we're human. And then it's almost like, for me, you've embodied that in this festival, because yes, you're human, you're only human. Yes, you're a woman, but also you are a businesswoman, but you also are a person. But then you also need a bit of knowledge about sustainability, or how should I dress, or what the AI technology advances, and how do I, if I want to write a book, how do I do that? How do I, sort of monetize my expertise? So that, I think, bringing all those people into a room is just phenomenal, really. And I don't see why anyone shouldn't sort of attend that kind of event, because I don't think I've seen anything like that.
Thank you.
Especially in the UK, so I think anybody that's listening to this that wants to sort of experience that, definitely go and find out more. I will pop the links for everything, to how to contact Marianna, how to find out more about the WOW Festival in the show notes. So thank you so much for today, Marianna. I really, really appreciate you spending time with me and explaining everything that you do and how we can be authentic. So I'll see you guys on the next one.